Hello?
Hello.
So we're not going to have any problems tonight, right? Everything is going to go perfectly with the technology and all of that, right? Right?
That's right.
That's right.
This
Okay.
is Camelot, isn't it?
It is, well, actually, it's already working for a change.
By law,
S-
no technical irregularities are allowed.
None are allowed. So, welcome to Lighting the Way, Granny Reps and Rocks. And I am Beth Green, sometimes known as Granny Rocks, and
And I'm James Maynard, otherwise known as Sweet Baby James.
right? Can't always remember. He doesn't know which of his many. Well, tonight I've got a very exciting topic,
On Lighting the Way.
and the topic tonight is going to be how do you know it would have been better or it would be better if? So, this show is all about disappointment and the antidote to disappointment.
Yeah, I want to hear
So,
that one.
Yeah, hang on to your seat, settle down, tune in. So tell the guys about Lighting the Way.
Well, Lighting the Way is an opportunity to hear Granny rap and rock, to hear her uncommon sense, her wit, and her wisdom.
Oh,
So stay tuned, everybody.
Yes. And I just found this thing. I don't want it falling into the piano.
Okay. No.
So it's so common for us to feel regret.
Mm-hmm.
It can be about something that we have done. It can be about something that has happened,
Mm-hmm.
that someone else has done, an accident, so many things that we end up saying, oh, it would have been so much better if, or we just say, oh, I wish that hadn't happened. But the implication is that it would have been better if it had not. So I am going to challenge that notion tonight, not across the board, but in many cases. But first, we have some comments.
We have a couple of comments. Tracy says hello and sends love and caring. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank
Same
you.
to you.
Thank you.
And Catalina says good evening and sends love and applause and musical notes.
Great. I'm so
Thank
glad
you,
that you
Catalina.
applauded now because you may not applaud after you hear what I have to say. So, all right. So, when I was much earlier in my spiritual journey, I heard the inner voice that used to talk to me all the time. And I wrote books, just through this guidance. And I heard one day the antidote to disappointment is enlightenment.
Oh, please explain that one.
Isn't that cool?
Sounds good.
Well, see, I wrote a book called God's Little Aphorisms, and aphorisms are sayings, and it's free on our website, healingartsnetwork.org. You can go download it for free or read it or anything you want. And it has 52 sayings, things that that I learned in these early days. And so what would happen is that I would go through some kind of, drama in my life. And by the end of the day, I would have an aphorism, something that would help me to understand it in a different way. And one day it was the antidote to disappointment is enlightenment. And I'm going to explain it in a minute, except that I
Okay.
think we have an enlightened viewer.
And Todd says, hello, Beth and James. I hope you had a wonderful birthday, Beth. Yay.
I did have a wonderful birthday. That was yesterday. I was 78 yesterday. Caught up with James,
Yeah, who was also 78.
has been 78 since May, and he'll surpass me again in May when he'll become 79, hopefully. So the point is, so often we think that it would have been better if something else had happened. Now, I'm going to give some examples. Now, I am not telling you that you should feel this way about things that happen to you. I don't want to tell you what you should feel about your painful experiences and your disappointments. But I do want to share with you how this idea has helped me and under what circumstances. So let's take something very simple. My health. My health, to be honest, stinks. Aha, we have another comment.
Amy says, "Hi, Beth and James. Thank you so much for this topic, and I'm sure I will enjoy the talk. I always do, even if difficult on occasion." And she sends multiple hearts of love and caring. And she says, "Oh, happy birthday, Beth!" with a
Thank
celebration
you. Thank you so
and a
much.
symbol there.
Thank you so much. So, well, thank you, Amy. It's lovely sentiment. So, when I say my health stinks, I mean I was born with the hereditary condition, so I was always having pain and disability. Even as a young child, I could barely play the piano, even though I tried. And then when I became 15, I became chronically, severely ill and was never well after that, ever. And it drags on and on and on. So it would have been very easy for me to say, gee, it would have been better if I had never gotten sick, right?
Oh, by the way, and we have another big hello from Blanquita from Ecuador. She
Bienvenidas.
says, "Hello, Beth and James," and sends a heart
Or
of
dos,
love.
or something. Anyway, one of those. Gracias, Blanquita. So now,
Well, you were handicapped, but you still got accepted into a conservatory, and you were in the high school for the performing arts.
right, but that's before I became severely ill. And when I became severely ill, then I couldn't play the piano anymore and I couldn't do much. And during my life, like since 1983, I've been housebound and I've been in bed years and it's been very difficult. Okay, so how can I say that it would have, it wouldn't have been better if I had never gotten sick? Well, you want to hear me. I am the queen of rationalization.
I'd love to hear it.
Well, first of all, this is going to be a crazy sounding idea, right? But if I had had a more normal body, I could have done more normal things.
Oh.
Now, if I had done more normal things like eaten food like normal people could, or going out, or doing other things, maybe if I had eaten those foods, I would have been dead already.
Or your social life would have been different too.
Wait, I'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
I could have died of cancer because I would have eaten things that would have fed the cancer cells. So how do I know that even on that simple level that I didn't avoid having a much worse thing? How do I know
Yes.
that if I had been normal and had actually gone out like a normal person and left the house more often, that I wouldn't have been hit by a car and that I wouldn't be dead? Right? I don't, honestly, I just don't know.
Anything could have happened.
Anything could have happened. Another thing, if I hadn't spent years and years and years and years and years mostly in bed, I wouldn't have had probably the inner life that I developed, where I did a lot of thinking, a lot of observation. I have 6 books, original books that I've written. 2 of them are fiction and the rest of them are nonfiction. 5 of them are on our Healing Arts Network website for free download. Well, I don't think I would have had the awareness that I got because I would have been involved in the parties or the socialization. I would have had children. I couldn't have children. I tried. It was impossible. And so I would have had a life that would have looked completely different. Now, there's more, and there's more.
Oh, well, do tell.
Well, my hands are so cold. And by the way, it doesn't mean that every day I don't get up and say, God, I wish I felt better. I was like, good, I hate the way I feel. Okay. When I was about 35, I went to a chiropractor who was into alternative healing and kinesiology and all of that. Now, this is because I had such terrible health. Now, when I went to see this guy, he tested me. They did something called muscle testing, where it's called kinesiology. Okay. I could not hold a muscle. He could not muscle test me. He said I was the weakest human being he'd ever met, and I was 35 years old.
Right.
So there was something wrong with me, obviously. And so he eventually sent me to a metaphysical counselor. And she turned on a green light. And when she turned on the green light, I had just a little bit of strength, so that with a very gentle move on her part, she was able to muscle test me. Now, that would not have happened if I had not had endless years of suffering. I would never have gone. I was not spiritual. I was not metaphysical. I was a social activist. I was a revolutionary. I would organize demonstrations, but I couldn't go because I couldn't walk. And because of that, the psychic part of me turned on instantly. And I discovered that I had this incredible intuitive gift. I could read past lives. I could see into people's minds. I heard voices that were telling me what to. I mean, it was all this thing happened. And it would not have happened if she had not turned on that green light. And that would never have happened if I hadn't been unwell, because I would never have gone to a place like that. I mean, this is back in 1980. Now there are people like that on every corner. But at that time, it was like a really crazy thing to do. And my whole life changed. And it was really great because I had already burnt out on politics, on all of it, the anger and the angst. And I had been trying to be a social activist, and I cared a lot. So that changed my entire life. That would not have happened if I had not been sick. So,
I was just reflecting on that. I think I learned something already here.
Really?
Yeah. I have often regretted having dropped much of my hypnotherapy practice for the sake of re-entering the law as a lawyer. And now I realize that by doing that, I was able to overcome a syndrome that I had. As a hypnotherapist, I was in a nurturing, maternal kind of role. The focus was on helping the other person be better. But as a lawyer, my ego got fed by being the champion of a cause for my client. And so I learned that didn't work very well for me, that was not something I was well suited for.
Being in your ego and being the champion, yes.
Yeah, all of that.
Excellent.
Yeah. And my ego led me into doing something that I was not as so well suited for as doing the hypnotherapy work. So I left the practice of law ultimately, and returned to the consciousness work.
That's right. And that made you vulnerable and looking for answers, which led you to me.
To you.
That's right. Who knows? Maybe if you had stayed a hypnotherapist, you would have been successful, and you would not have been interested in little old sick me. And you wouldn't have been willing to do the cooking and the shopping and the dishes.
Helping you get on the TV and radio
helping
shows.
me because
When
you
I
would
had
have
been on TV
exactly.
and radio
You
shows.
would have been the big honcho. You would not have helped me. And see, I needed you to do that, James. So.
Oh, Elizabeth says, hi there, and she sends a heart of love and caring. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Right, and Amy said,
Oh, Amy says, please turn up your volume, James, a little bit.
I just did. I hope that works. Let us know.
She turned me up and she turned me on.
I did. So these are examples
Just don't turn me down.
of... Hi there, Lizzie. Thank you, Amy. So these are examples of things that you would normally say this was a bad thing.
Yeah.
You know, but you don't. What would have happened if you hadn't done that? How would your life have gone? Nobody will ever know.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we assume. Now, I'm going to give you another example. This one is a little fanciful. I just made this up, but these examples that we have given are real things that have happened to us. Okay, so supposing you have a daughter who becomes a drug addict, and she, for years, she's like on the brink of killing herself, right? And it's a terrible thing. And, you wish she had never started drugs, and you wish this, and you wish that, and you said, if only she hadn't. And then, finally, after years and years and years, she gets sober and clean. And when she's there at the 13th rehab that she went to, she meets a guy or a girl or somebody, and she finds the love of her life. And she would never have found this person if she hadn't been in the 11th rehab or 13th rehab. And supposing those two people have a child, and that child, who is brought up in a conscious family, becomes very aware and starts helping multitudes of people. What do you think of that?
Well, that's cool.
But it's all speculation, right? But see, the other side is also speculation. So what do I think? I think that it's better to speculate on the side of, wait a minute, enlightenment means there's something that I could see here that I could not normally see. Become more aware and start thinking about it. Now, I'm going to give you a terrible example. The invasion of the Ukraine. Who's going to say that was a good thing, right? Well, I'm not saying it's a good thing. If I were there, I'm sure I would say, oh my God, this is a terrible thing. In fact, I still think it's a terrible thing. But how do we know what would have happened if that invasion had not occurred? Maybe Putin would have invaded all of Eastern Europe. Instead, the Ukrainian people have so courageously fought this off, and may be the end of Putin. Nobody else could get rid of him. So again, I would never say to somebody who is being bombed, hey, it's cool, don't worry about it. I don't mean that. Things are not cool, and we need to call them out. We need to say, it's not good to take drugs, and it sucks to be sick, and it's a nightmare that the Russians have invaded the Ukrainians. But we can also start looking for the things that happen because of things that we think are terrible. For example, sometimes someone has a terrible experience, and as a result of that, they gain inner strength and they change. And how do you know that person wouldn't have just gone off and become a hopeless drunk if they hadn't had to combat this and gain all their courage? Or so if someone has cancer, you might say, oh, I'm so sorry. I wish that hadn't happened. But you don't know that when the person has cancer, that they haven't or aren't in the process of developing some qualities that they need.
Oh, and Blanquita says, thanks for sharing with us. Beth and James, please sing a song for us before you say goodbye.
Well, talking about singing a song, this is not the music show. The music show is on Thursdays, lunes, martes, miércoles, jueves, right? Es el programa de música. But why don't we, but más para ti, vamos a sing a song. Let's sing a song to close out this idea.
Oh,
Yeah, how do you like that crazy
Oh,
idea?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, so always look. Always look deeper.
Amy says, if I hadn't had health issues of my own, I wouldn't have met you through a series of earlier connections, the most amazing counselor I have ever had. My life would have never been the same otherwise.
Oh,
Wow.
thank you.
Yes.
So let us welcome the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay, James, those are your lyrics. Let us welcome the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Okay. Let us welcome the good, the bad, and the ugly. You never know what's around that corner until you go there. Don't look back over your shoulder, making your world colder. Just keep on moving ahead. Take it all in, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And look for the lesson. What have you learned? How has it contributed to your life? Stay on that path, the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's life. That's what people say. Riding high in April, knocked down in May, then getting up again, dusting yourself off, and moving forward yet again.
Okay, Blanquita, para ti,
Yeah, that was dedicated to Blanquita.
sí, dedicado
friend
a
in
Blanquita in Ecuador. Even though this is not, she's giving us some.
Oh,
Even though esto no es el programa de música, pero mañana es. So tomorrow, come back for music, magical improv.
Yes.
And who knows what will happen tomorrow? Maybe I'll give a talk instead. And
and Blanquita sends a big heart of love.
Blanquita es muy amable.
See.
So let us think together of all the things that have happened that we've done that we thought were so terrible, terrible things that happened to us, terrible things that are happening in the world, which that's easy to find. And let us take a moment to consider what good might be coming from it. You know, every time there's some political thing that happens that is painful, we need to take the attitude, maybe there's something in this that we can learn from or mobilize around or come to recognize as beneficial in some way. For instance, how terrible the weather has become is the wake-up call of this century. So come back like the show, love the show, share this show. Send it to your friends.
Yes.
And come back next Wednesday, and every Wednesday for Lighting the Way, Granny Raps and Rocks. And what else about that? Oh,
and if you like the show, please give us a like or a love.
Yes.
We'd love to see that.
And a comment, and we can always, I can always respond to your comments afterwards. So that's todos los miércoles. That's every Wednesday. And every Thursday we do Magical Improvs,
Magical
where
Improvs
we
with
play
Beth
music.
and the Healing Arts Band.
That's right.
That's us.
So there you go. So that's at 7 o'clock
Pacific time.
Pacific time. Just like we're at 6:30 Pacific time on Wednesday, 7 o'clock Pacific time on Thursday. And please follow our page. And please tell everybody about the Healing Arts Network, where you have all this free entertainment, enlightenment, and love and healing. And go to it yourself if you haven't, healingartsnetwork.org. So until then,
we'll be seeing you in all the old familiar places. Bye-bye for now.
remember the antidote, which means the cure for disappointment. It's like when you have a poison, you take an antidote which neutralizes that poison. The way to neutralize our disappointment is to try to find the grace, the beauty, and the power, the benefit in whatever happens. Love you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.